Hi there, welcome to some of the latest news on the Jay Slater missing person case. Going to be doing an analysis today, looking at the latest news from what the family have had to say, updates regarding the GoFundMe, where the money stands in total at this point in time. Was the money well spent or not? We'll get an idea of that and any additional details along the way. I appreciate people's patience and those that have come along since watching this coverage. Now, previously I did do a video in regards to the criminal networks, underworld connections, direct, indirect, crossing paths with other bad people out there. Jay Slater's past catching up on him, yes or no? Opportunistic behaviour, possibly stealing a watch, which then got him in deep trouble, deep waters, and directly or indirectly led to him disappearing. Things like that, you want to catch up on it. Top right corner of the screen, click on the eye symbol there. Now, I did see a very interesting comment, a concept. Now, maybe I could apply it in today's video if there is time, but for now, let's just focus on some of the latest news and begin reading. Here we are, so we're on Independent, different news articles, see what it's like, check for any consistencies or inconsistencies. So I've got the reader mode activated because there was too many adverts. Title reads, Jay Slater missing, latest, father rages. Everything stinks as search for teenager enters fourth week. Investigation into Jay Slater's disappearance. Athena, 35 minutes ago. There's a few blank spaces because I think videos. Jay Slater's father has voiced his frustration as the search for the 19-year-old son enters a fourth week. It is now 3 weeks exactly since the teenager vanished. Case has captured the attention of the nation, with over £50,000 being donated. Quite a lot. The last time I remember reading the GoFundMe, it was what, 31 or 41,000? So it's gone up a fair bit since. And you could wonder and question as to why exactly. Because if there is suspicion looming over, and there's a fair portion out there that are skeptical, who is giving money? And for what reason? Do people truly believe that Jay is innocent? That the past doesn't matter? That nothing has gone wrong in which Jay's done anything criminal out there which led to his disappearance, that it's just a very unfortunate tale of events and it's the unknown and uncertainty. But do the general public know how the GoFundMe money is truly going to be spent? Has the family been truly transparent? There's been reports and news articles about the family supposedly wanting a certain amount of money so then they can ship other family members and friends of friends out on the out there to Tenerife. Could that be considered a free holiday for some? I mean, there's been some skeptical people out there that have suggested that. I mean, if you're going to raise money, and especially a fair portion, it should be used the best way possible, maybe hiring experts and stuff. And I think that's what the former cop, was it Mark Thomas or so, suggested. That's where the money should be spent. But has it exactly? I saw some comments by people recently saying how the mother, first thing she did when she got there on holiday was painting her nails or something. These fine little details people will look out on. I mean, I remember when it came to the Dylan Rounds case and there was an early news interview with the parents, Dylan's missing, foul play suspected, and what does the mother do during the interview? Painted nails, makeup on, etc., etc. Is that all she cares about? That's what people were claiming at the time. But, in fairness, at the end of the day, when you do appear in an interview and it's maybe in a studio, they might have that default makeup procedure. It happens, right? Nevertheless, let's just focus back here. The mother, Debbie Duncan, said the family has been overwhelmed by the support issued on the GoFundMe. She said local volunteer groups have offered to continue searching, and they're also in contact with experienced groups who have offered assistance. Well, if experienced groups and locals have offered to help, volunteering, free of charge, if that was the case, then what's the point of that GoFundMe money then? I mean, it would have been interesting if the GoFundMe money was used more so as reward money. When you get a missing person case, you tend to have some kind of reward money put out there. Not that it should be expected, but it could be the norm nowadays for getting information out and receiving leads from those who may know or be responsible. And if they can help out in some way without getting in too much trouble themselves, they get rewarded. It's like an incentive. How come the GoFundMe, no money? Is there any reward money? I've not heard it myself. I've not really seen any posters. Correct me if I'm wrong down below. And to what extent, what amount of the money would it consist of? I think I read an article somewhere about that. Was it Ryan was he called Ryan or Paul? One of the backpackers out there that was searching about by himself, going on about how he's funding it himself and he's not really getting paid much or paid at all. But then I saw another point mentioned in one of the articles that the parents' family paid him so much, like £700. I don't know how true that is, I'm going to be honest with you, but I just remember hearing about it in the background. You can let me know your thoughts on that as well in the comments. But look, if you got locals volunteering, not even, wanting to be paid, they're volunteering, taking up their time, that's very good of them, of course. And it's interesting because it wasn't that long ago there was complaints made and disappointment from some, maybe such as family, that only 6 people turned up after the official searches were called off. But now it's saying that there's local volunteers all of a sudden and experienced groups that will offer to help. Well, that sounds like a good deal, right? Volunteering. So what are you going to do with that GoFundMe money? Give it to family members or friends to come on over as well. So you've got actual locals giving up their own time, and experts possibly giving up their own time free of charge, and you're not giving them anything, maybe because they don't want anything, possibly, that's one factor. But then money is going towards indirect people who are not even from there, who are further afar, who have got less experience, but it's just connected via blood or emotional connections to bring them over. Seems like a waste of money, that, if it was be interpreted that way specifically. But what else? Included Jay's father, Warren Slater, who carried out a search with the teenager's uncle and brother close to the last location Jay's phone pinged on Saturday. But he has voiced his concern over the theories over his son's disappearance, and the local police response, he told Mail, everything stinks, it's just a riddle, and I don't know the outcome. A riddle? Who is the riddler? Who created those clues in the first place? A trail of breadcrumbs. Was it Jay's own doing or somebody else? He also spoke of his frustration over a woman at a restaurant who he said last saw his son walking the wrong way before he vanished. So why is he frustrated with that woman at the restaurant? Is that woman who doesn't even know she's supposed to babysit Jay or something? Or is it just because of the fact that it's taken this long for her to speak out, I wonder, as like a witness possibly? 35 minutes ago. Take in mind, this is kind of like a live feed article, so more may be added on later. But at this moment in time, 35 minutes ago, it's read, Jay Slater's mother says, this is no holiday, as she hits back at internet trolls. Once again, the key buzz term and words, trolls. Yeah, you will always get them, but there will be other people out there using critical thinking skills and maybe just common sense and just simply being skeptical, simply questioning what is actually going on with that money. If the transparency isn't clear enough, or people don't see it in motion, for example, or proof, some people could be questioning. There's no harm in questioning. As long as you're not going like all in and attacking, it shouldn't be a problem. Jay Slater's mother hits back at trolls, questioning the use of the money raised by the public to help the search. But it is interesting now, considering you've got those locals, volunteers, who are doing it free of charge, supposedly. Nearly £50,000 has been donated to the GoFundMe page set up during the search 3 weeks ago. But as the search scales back, with Spanish authorities no longer looking for the young man, some people's attention online has turned to the use of money raised. 1 hour. Having seen the area firsthand, here's why so little progress has been made. Located in a steep valley in the beautiful rural Tenerife Park, the remote village of Masco is a haven for hikers, adventurers travelling to Tenerife. Yet for the family and friends of Jay Slater, it's become the place of nightmares because its rugged landscape, steep ravines, caves as well, easily hide clues which could shed light on a teenager's disappearance. 2 hours ago, TikToker searching for Jay Slater, who quit because he didn't feel safe in Tenerife, didn't want to fail. TikToker flew back to London following his 2-week search of Tenerife for missing Jay Slater because he claimed he no longer felt safe on the party island. Why did he not feel safe, though? Sick trolls were waiting for Kalam Fahim as he touched down in the capital on Thursday, after tracking his flight number from his live streams online. The keen hiker flew out to the Spanish island to help in the hunt for the 19-year-old apprentice bricklayer in case which has gripped the world. Does it actually give much context, though? No, it doesn't. It's very unfortunate. It's like small snippets, which is disappointing. But it's saying that trolls were waiting at the airport for him in the capital. What did they do to Callum then? Are we saying that this person called Callum another individual, another TikToker? Because previously the TikToker reference was the guy called Paul. Now we've got someone called Callum. Is Paul still out there? As for Callum, he says he doesn't feel safe on the part-time. Why would Callum be the one tracked down by the trolls? What about the likes of Paul, if he was still out there? And what were those trolls doing anyway? To spend that time, that money to track the flights and to make it down there themselves? It seems awfully desperate in a way, going all that distance and possibly paying money as well, what you would expect to pay money to travel from country to country to meet up with this TikToker to photobomb him, scare him, make him feel uncomfortable. Even if the Jay Slater case is a bit murky and shady, the way some of these trolls supposedly behaving by following those that go out there, what's the whole point of that? It just seems a bit dodgy. Is it because those trolls are connected to the disappearance of Jay Slater, or they're just doing it because they want to mess around and get the 15 minutes of fame, or however long it was? Makes you wonder. 3 weeks today since Jay went missing. Then Joe travelled to the Spanish island. We've seen all that before, haven't we? Airbnb. Miss Slater called his friend Lucy Law had been at the festival with him to tell him he had missed his bus and was planning to make the 11-hour walk back to his accommodation. He was dehydrated, leg cuts, cactus, unsure of the location where he was, a bit confused, unable to use the maps there because of the low battery. Wasn't able to charge his phone, but also we heard about how he was scared, couldn't make it back. He starts screaming and shouting Jay's father. More was made from, Jay Salter. You mean Slater? That's spelt wrong. Warren's interview online. The Guardia Civil has wound back its search, we've seen. Warren is frustrated and lack of help. We're going round and round in circles. That's the father there, as you can see. Jay's vents frustration at investigation, help from locals. Although police search in the island for Jay has been scaled back, the family is still leading an operation. Jay's father Warren, part of a 10-strong volunteer team. Well, there you go, more than 6 people, right, helping that came through the treacherous terrain. And there has been growing frustration from the family over help from locals who last saw Jay. Growing frustration from the family with the locals. Why would there be frustration? Warren said one woman, he's knocked on her door. She said at 10 he went the wrong way. This morning I've seen her. She didn't want to stop. It's somebody's son. If you're the last person to see someone's son, you try your damnedest to help, don't you? She must be a grandma. If your son was here, what would you do? If he was on top of that rock, you'd climb it. If somebody did see Jay and they were unaware at the time at least what the situation was, but then they made aware later by news or family being present and reaching out to him, the lack of help or cooperation there, almost like the lack of emotion, connection in, I know about this, or I know about this, I've seen this, I've seen that, or I remember hearing, could give a bit more context, at least. If you're a key witness or a person of interest in the case, there's no harm in cooperating. When you don't cooperate, is it because you're hiding something, or is it just because you just don't give a damn? A bit rude in a way. Disappointed on large-scale search. Right, June 29th, organised search on the island. Only 6 people turned up. Yeah, but ever since, it seems like it's got a little bit better. Now, what I do want to move on to with this brief spell, let's look at one alternative theory. Very interesting one. So credit to this individual that commented on my channel recently, Crypto Max says, I think he went into the room of the Airbnb to get the charger, like the Vegas guy said, where his mate was sleeping, seeing a big wad of cash or maybe something valuable such as a Rolex watch, and he had to get out fast. I think they realised an hour or so later and caught up with him. Why he could not return tells me Jay has robbed them. What do you reckon? It's a fair point. Maybe not everybody agrees with it, but we've already heard the reference of a possible Rolex being stolen, but then also that supposed Snapchat, which was posted publicly or more so privately. The wrong people get a hold of that Snapchat or somehow come across it indirectly. I'm sure whoever's in possession of a Rolex would at least try to keep it safe to an extent, or at least if they couldn't find it or it went missing or stolen, they would definitely know about it. They wouldn't just completely ignore and blank it, unless a person was so rich and they had too much money to spend that the odd thing going may not even leave a dent within the money or the value that they have. But not everybody will be overly rich. It's just worth taking that into mind. But you never know. It's a fair point. It's kind of well worded, at least in my opinion here. For Jay to feel uncomfortable at some point. I remember it mentioned in one of the articles that when Jay was with the two other guys, he felt uncomfortable around them. Why would he feel uncomfortable around them? Because he knew that those two were dodgy or dangerous? Or is it because by then he's already stolen the watch at some point, somehow, and felt guilty or felt he couldn't return it back? Different ways of looking at it, different outlooks. But especially, you got accommodation, you got a place where it should be somewhat safe. Normally, it would be safer to be in that accommodation than to be just walking about aimlessly in the rural area, the mountainous terrain. It's more dangerous, lack of resources, dehydration, possibly lost if you go off the beaten track. Yeah, it's not good luck. So to be in the mindset of I can't go back to a place of safety because it just isn't safe for me would imply that is it because there are people already there and you would feel unsafe with. But if you felt somewhat okay to go with them in the first place over in that direction, for example, then maybe at first it was okay, but then afterwards something went wrong, such as at the place in one of the rooms, coming across an opportunity maybe, benefiting from it, and then later realising, shit, what have I done? I can't go back to the scene, if you wanted to describe it like that. So all Jay could do is keep on moving and not stop, because at any point, on that basis, that theory, the others could catch on and could try looking for Jay. But would the others be silly enough to be going out of their way in the rural area where it could be quite dangerous? Maybe not. They'd think, damn, he's gone off with it. Damn him. And then try searching out, can't find him. Jay's still possibly in his mindset thinking, I need to get away, I need to get further, get the distance wider. But the decision making, the odd bit of panic, the odd bit of regret, the possible adrenaline as well could throw you off course, off track, and it could backfire at some point. Simply getting lost, going round and round in circles, succumbing to the environment further afar, or getting injured along the way, possibly. So it could be the events of Jay may have done a bad thing, small bit of criminal activity to an extent, possibly, which then led to poor decision making afterwards, after feeling a form of regret or panic, fear, in which then, because of not quite thinking clearly, mistakes were made along the way, which indirectly caused possibly the death of him, or just him simply going missing, unless anyone else in the background caught up to him, like a game of cat and mouse. But, it's worth pointing up there for discussion. As for how the environment and the area looks to rural areas, the dips, how it drops down, the rocks are scattered about. I saw some other people commenting on it, such as on YouTube, saying, you don't have to wear like hiking gear. You wear casual shoes, casual shorts, and maybe that works for some people, but for others, maybe not so much. At least when I've seen like desert exploration, mountainous terrains, regardless of environment, desert-like or not, there is elevation, gradients, loose rocks, big or small, loose gravel, things like that, rocks from above, any wildlife as well, if there was. There's no harm in wearing the appropriate walking shoes for that sole, that grip, the ankle support. Maybe some can manage without, but others may use it. Maybe even the locals, because they're more familiar with the area, or arguably they'd be less likely to use it if the locals, because they're more experienced with the terrain and how to transverse across it. But nevertheless, everybody has their own approach. But what about the approach in terms of searching? Where do you start? Where do you look? You look at the last clues and then expand from there. Some of the footage, what we have seen, or what you've seen, the rocks, how high up it can get, the mountains, the caves, low down, up top. Could Jay be in any of them? The dense vegetation in some spots, could he have fallen in? You think there'd be a bit, maybe of a possible indentation into the bushes if someone was to fall inwards. But then again, if it's bounced back up or it's grown over, that could cause a bit of concealment, or even concealment of a possible phone being dumped somewhere. But why would Why would Jay end up in a cave, for example? I mean, when it came to the Kenny Veach missing person case in the US, Nevada, Mojave Desert, Little Joe May Canyon, when searching for an M cave and going back out there a final time, which was 10th of November 2014, supposedly presumed missing out there, with some counterpoints as well. Searching for a cave, you go missing. Have you gone missing in the desert before you've reached the cave, or have you found the cave and then something went wrong after that point? Is it the act of, if you want to find a key, if you want to find Kenny, the key is to finding the cave first, because that's the direction he went to. If you want to find the cave, the key is to finding Kenny because he went in that direction. Does it go hand in hand? Is it in parallel with Jay Slater supposedly maybe distancing himself from other people around him who he was with earlier? Distance himself from the Airbnb, getting away, trying to get back to what, for example, Los Cristianos, where what his friends are at or so. What would he have done if he made it back? Oh, hey guys, look what I've got. I've got a new watch, or I've got some money. Let's go. But then wouldn't that endanger his friends or so? But then are his friends innocent either? People have said about Lucy, a little bit shady, shifty. I've not looked too deep into her, I'll be honest with you. The key relevant articles don't seem to show up when I try and search for them. I might have to change the keywords. But when linking back to the location, the caves area, dehydrated, as he said, okay, that's an issue. Going to water, finding a water source, is that what he would try to do first? Try and find a water source, even if it wasn't exactly clean water? Is that worth putting into perspective? Trying to find shade away from the heat and the sun. Going into a cave can be somewhat cooler, but how deep are those caves and how many exist out there? You'd think it would have, could it be a shallow cave? Could it be a deep cave? Would it be low down to the ground or much higher up in the mountains? Probably less likely to be higher up, more so to be lower down, at least from my opinion. But, you know, you start adding to the list of areas that need checking, every cave, just like in the Kenny Veach case, or more so the Dylan Rounds case in the US, we've got to check every single mine shaft because they could be dumped in one. Was Dylan Rounds found in any mine shafts? No. How many mine shafts were there? Thousands upon thousands upon thousands, if you include Nevada as well. But in the end, he was found buried in the ground, not far from the property after all the searches. Pretty simplistic at the end of the day, but needle in a haystack. As for Jay Slater, out of all those caves, which one would you look in first? One that's big, one that's small, one that's shallow, one that's deep. Just adds to the list, creates that depth, that extra layer. I mean, is there any patterns of behaviour with Jay Slater? What would he normally have done in the past if he was dehydrated, if he didn't have direct access to water in his hand, or if he was in his house or wherever and he was out in the middle of nowhere, out in the countryside, out on a walk? I don't know. What would you do for the water? You go to the nearest shop, go to the nearest water source. If there's any fountains, any spring water. It probably sounds a bit of a reach, that, but you know, does the survivability, the survival instincts kick in with Jay Slater, or is he more so focused on getting back to where he needs to be and not resources along the way? Would there be a diversion along the way to resolve current issues, such as being lost, or such as being dehydrated, or possibly being tired, needing to rest, and then what, succumbing to the environment? But if it was out in the open, surely would have been found by now. So either hidden and concealed by choice or not, or just further afar. Still on foot till this day? I'd say unlikely, because after, 3-4 weeks passing by 3-4 weeks, if you used to go from here to there and it was an 11-hour walk, at least within 3 to 4 weeks, even if you were walking slow, likely you would have made it by now. And that doesn't seem to be the case. So, out in the wilderness, or out in the open, concealed by nature, what's your thoughts? Criminal networks, undertone, a direct link? Is it still applies to birds of a feather flock together? Or was that the initial aspect, factor, and element of the case, which then went bad and went wrong? Got more than what one bargained for. I said, you can always leave your comments down below. Appreciate you watching. Feel free to catch up on other videos where the eye symbol is. And yeah, goodbye for now.